Oh.
It's home. We call it hog run sometimes because you familiar with the James Taylor sketchbook?
Yes.
There was a guy that we think he was the hired slave that was working for the Pritchards. He's with the newspaper guy, and he called it hog run. And he told the reporter, he said, well, "Why do you call it hog run?" And he said, "Well, it's where the hogs run." No, it's the Taylor sketchbook. If you ever have a chance to see that at a library or something, is incredible. He's with them in the Shenandoah Valley with Sheridan, like from August through October, most of the time, but he's absent for a few times. But he comes here and he's sketching things on the battlefield. He has a lot of stories, like you know, I'll tell you once that just aren't correct. He sketches an officer of the Irish Brigade wounded in the house there. Well, and this is like the first week of August that he did this sketch. And he claims that this was the commanding officer. Well, the commanding officer of the Irish Brigade wasn't wounded, and he didn't stay here. He was at Harper's Ferry, and we actually have communications from him up at Harper's Ferry on July 29th. But so one of the things that it's the drawings in this book that are amazing. You know, it's like there he's misidentified this officer, it's incredible. Like here, he's got the Pritchard house. When he was here, Sheridan's army had moved down towards Strasburg, and this was a rear area echelon. He's got the wheelwright shop. He's got the little Mr. Pritchard's little boy sitting out there on the lawn in front of the house playing with a toy, and then he has an excellent viewshed of this field out here, and so you get to see kind of running across this field was a board fence about halfway across. You've got a stone wall. That there was a road coming into Kernstown, yeah. That is the best place to see it is after here if you have a chance. Go over to the church. There's a nice pull off and a little bench right there with a couple of interpretive markers, and you can see that stone wall. And
you'll see it. You can see it. You'll see it when we go to the marker down in Scotland.
Yeah, we're not going to go.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happens out here? Now, we left Mulligan. His men are going to advance down the hill. Some of them are out by the Valley Pike. They're going to be in line of battle, basically from where the museum building is, the white building, extending all the way out to the Valley Pike. Have a little bit of cavalry covering the left flank. Most of the cavalry is still skirmishing out there, but he's got orders from Crook to go out there and advance. So he gets out here, so he leaves the hill at 10, so you're talking 10:30, moving on 11 o'clock. They get out there, relieve the cavalry, and they're trying to get in positions behind these fences and the stone wall. They don't align nicely to be fighting against people in the woods there. Every position you take, you're kind of exposed. The other thing you may notice is that that's slightly higher ground up there. There's even lower ground in here, and there's going to be a development now. If you go over to your next map on here, you're going to see that the main Confederate Army, about 11 o'clock, is going to start arriving on the battlefield. And that's right down here at the bottom here. A lot of what I'm talking about now is just skirmishing, and there's no map for it. This is later, but this shows you where the troops are in position on the Confederate side at this point. So right out in front of us, we have John Breckinridge's corps. Breckinridge was a senior officer. He had a division, but early wanted to respect. Again, this guy's a presidential candidate, former vice president of the United States. He had a lot of charisma and leadership ability. So he gets that corps, which is his own division and Gordon's division. So Gordon's men are going to start to deploy. They're leading the advance. Right out in front of us, is going to be a brigade, the largest brigade in the Army, about 1,300 Georgians under the command of a Colonel Atkinson. Between his brigade and the Valley Pike is the old Stonewall Division. Again, it was a division numbered 4,000 or 5,000 men on May 1st. Now that division is down to a brigade composed of 14 regiments, numbers 1,000 men tops. Shows you everything that they've been put through from May through July 24th. But again, still a relatively good combat unit, as they proved at Monocacy. In there is also with them is Zebulon York's Louisiana Brigade. Was 2 brigades previously and was consolidated into about 600 men from what had been about a dozen different regiments to start off the 1864 campaign. Now, within Jubal Early's army and throughout the Army of Northern Virginia, there was a formal system of sharpshooters in command, in each command. Basically, it worked that your 2 best shots in each company at the beginning of an engagement would come forward, and each company, each brigade would have a company, and then the division would have a battalion of sharpshooters there. And so what's going to happen, the Early's line of battle's not right out there. They're going to be concealed behind the brow of the hill and in the woods. But what's going to happen? They're skirmishing with the cavalry. Cavalry, not as well armed, generally have shorter rifles and things. And, well, when Mulligan's men are out there, suddenly about 11 o'clock or so, they notice the accuracy of the fire and the volume of the firing picks up. That's Gordon's sharpshooters taking over for the Confederate cavalry. He's going to maneuver out there for a while, but he's going to lose. He's noticing they're losing a lot of officers. Eventually, they're going to fall back behind that stone wall over there. He's going to send his nephew, 19-year-old Lieutenant James Nugent, excuse me, not his nephew, but his brother-in-law, and the brother of his wife, who is his wife is in Cumberland, Maryland, while this battle is going on. And Nugent's going to go report that, they're running into heavy resistance. And to Crook, who has gone back to Winchester. Again, it's about 10 o'clock, and he's got Avril on his wide flanking movement to the east. And Nugent tells him what it is, and Crook's dismissive of him. Crook says, I haven't heard a half a dozen shots from the front yet this morning. Well, Nugent looks at him and says, General, if you were a little closer to the front, you might hear as many as a dozen. And says, young man, you go tell Colonel Mulligan to instantly and persistently advance, and I'll deal with you tomorrow. You're in subordination. So, that's it. Now, Crook at this point, he leaves, but Crook I think was a little more upset over his perceived disrespect there than, because he is going to send a brigade down, and he's going to send his best brigade. He's got the 36th Ohio and 23rd Ohio, and it's under the command of Colonel Rutherford B. Hayes. So they're going to come down here. Mulligan's going to get those orders, and the 2 men will meet. Again, Mulligan's division is in line, essentially. Probably got skirmishers going out towards the barn, but down in front along the lane, all the way out to the Valley Pike, 1,800 men behind that stone wall. According to some of the reports, there were parts of that fence line that were wooden fence, reading some of the accounts from the soldiers along the lane. Now, Hayes is going to arrive, and again, now we're probably looking 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1:30 or so. And Hayes is going to arrive on the battlefield. And Mulligan, he's got his coat off. It's not a nice July day like now. It was hot, humid. So he's got his coat off, no hat on. He's got long curly hair flowing in the breeze. He's got his green battle shirt on him, and he's going to ride out down the lane when he sees the troops arriving on the pike, and he's going to meet Hayes. Well, Rutherford B. Hayes has never met him before, but he sees that green, and he's, that must be Colonel Mulligan coming my way. And she says, Colonel Mulligan, presume. Yes, he says, you must be Colonel Hayes. And the two men discuss the situation. Things are going to be changing. Mulligan's going to say, hey, I've got reports that there's a big Confederate buildup off to my right on Sandy Ridge. Hayes is saying he's got some men reporting that there's Confederate activity off to the east as well. So these two men there, they're like, well, my orders are to go forward. Crook has happened to send this Lieutenant Moore, one of his staff officers, down to Kernstown, to make sure that his orders are being executed. And they look at the staff officer, and he says, no, you guys need to move forward. Crook has a whole plan in mind, and I'm going to outline that plan now. So basically what's going to, he's first, here's what Crook is visualizing on the battlefield. Gordon's division, cavalry on the flanks. So that's what he thinks he's dealing with at this point. So he is not reading. There are troops that Hayes' men saw, and that's Breckinridge, and I'm going to talk about the Confederates when we move out to our next stop. There is a division going up on Sandy Ridge there. So anyway, knowing all of this, Mulligan and Hayes look at each other, and they're basically, I think it's Hayes says, well, we may as go forward as well as any other direction because we're going up either way. So this is what you're going to have happening. What's really happening is you've got the medium-sized fish going to eat a little guppy, and then a big shark's going to come along and swallow that fish right after. Thinks it's going to get its meal. So let's head out over here, and what I want to discuss from there now is you've got the Union strategy, what's happening, and how this battle's going to develop. I want to